Welcome to Making Waves, where we interview spectacular individuals doing amazing things in a difficult world. I'm your host, Drew Leifheit. I'm a communications guy. I like to do voiceovers, and I'm also a podcasting consultant. Anyway, on today's Making Waves, Unknown Fates, Unheard Voices. Brussels-based filmmaker ANJA STRELEC shines a light on difficult plights in her work as an award-winning audiovisual and documentary film director and photographer. Originally from Croatia, most of ANJA's work focuses on social, environmental, and development topics, but she also does audiovisual portrait storytelling and even music videos. She uses a number of visual formats, documentary film, different video formats, and photography to produce multifaceted storytelling. ANJA produces audiovisual projects for Belgian TV and the European Commission, does audiovisual training for different agencies and EU delegations, and has been involved in projects in Nepal, Argentina, Ghana, Eritrea, Guinea, and all around Europe. Currently, she's finishing 2 documentaries, one called Where Have All the Smiles Gone, about Nepalese migrant workers, and the other, Kadia, about female genital mutilation. Most recently, ANJA has recently returned from Dhaka, Bangladesh, where she was a panelist at the 9th International Conference for Women in Cinema, a jury member at the 21st International Film Festival, and gave audiovisual training to an EU delegation in Bangladesh. Documentary filmmaker ANJA STRELEC, welcome to Making Waves, and thanks so much for being here. Hi, ANJA.
Hello everyone. Hello, Drew, and thank you for inviting me. Of course, I'm really grateful to be invited, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to talk with you about topics that you mentioned.
Well, you're doing some very interesting things, so thank you so much for accepting my invitation. And first of all, how's the weather?
How's the weather? Weather is quite okay today. It's almost 12 or 13 degrees, so I'm quite happy. Like I mentioned before, I think that we're all missing vitamin D because, well,
Right.
and I'm really looking forward to spring in Brussels and later on summer in Croatia. As you mentioned, I'm originally from Croatia, living in Brussels for, I think it has been already 8 years or so. Yeah. So
cool.
Becoming true Brusselaar.
Oh, that's great. ANJA, could you take us back a little bit? How would you explain the start of your journey as a the sort of a documentarian, things that you do with the photography and video?
Yes, of course. So I was born in Croatia, north of Croatia, in a little town called Varaždin. And for me, everything started with photography. You know, I was, 11, 12 years old when I think my mother bought me a first camera. In that time, it was analog camera. I'm 37 years old, so you can count. And I started with street photography, taking pictures of people, random people, outside, architecture, etc. And I really started loving it in a way, this communication that I had with different people, and just going around telling other people's stories through photography. And in my elementary school, I started a photo course. It was with my professor, and he saw that I have some kind of talent, probably, and I started with competition really early. Like I was 5th or 6th grade, 12 years old, and it was quite successful for me. I won, I think, 3 times in a row first prize in my hometown, and afterwards on the national level I was like 4th or 5th, quite young. And afterwards, when I started thinking about my career after high school, I was thinking about journalism, TV journalism, like something that I would like to do. So I went to University of Political Science, TV journalism as a major, and there I fell in love in TV. So for me, the visual media in general was something that was quite important, let's say. And I think it was around 3rd year that we had professor from States who came, and then we did like a first documentary with her, and that was some kind of new experience, because from the audiovisual world, TV world, photography, to documentary films that are more subjective, in a way, and it gives you, let's say, more creative freedom. And then I fell in love with the documentaries. So it was like a really gradually discovering different visual and cinema formats. So that led me afterwards. I worked on Croatian television for a while, and I decided then to study film and audiovisual directing. First production and then directing in the south of France, Paul Valéry in Montpellier, and afterwards in Toulouse. École supérieure d'audiovisual. It's like a master's degree in film directing and audiovisual as well. And I was fortunate. There were 3 public university in France, and one of them was in South. And I was accepted, and yeah, I started to work more on documentaries, both documentaries, but I never went away from the TV world, let's say. I always stayed a TV journalist. And later on, I lived in France for a while. I lived in Croatia for a while, in Argentina. So in all these countries, yeah, I was working mostly as a TV director, documentary filmmaker, except Argentina, where I had a different role. I was giving Croatian classes to our immigrants, but that's another story. Right. And that led me to Brussels. I wanted to stay either in France or go to Brussels because it's a French-speaking country, and people speak here several languages. And as Croatia entered the European Union, I was thinking that can be a great opportunity to find work in Brussels, and working as an audiovisual director here, TV journalist. And here I can really combine in Brussels all these different formats. And I'm really grateful for that. And last 8 years were quite, let's say, positive for me. And in that sense, that I could really be creative through different visual media and develop my career in that area.
Sounds like it's opened up a lot of doors.
Well, yes, indeed, because Brussels, as you know, it's not only Brussels is the center of Europe, and we have here all these institutions and European Commission and Parliament and different NGOs, etc. So not only that I was working in as a TV journalist and as a documentary filmmaker, I was also connected to all these institutions, and that helped me in developing other projects, let's say. But I'm also working from times to times for European Commission or Parliament or different institutions and NGOs as an audiovisual director, or giving workshops and trainings. So I cannot say that my work is only artistic. I'm also doing corporate videos, institutional videos, and even, as you mentioned, music videos from time to time.
Right.
I'm not limited on one format, because just to mention, documentaries require a lot of time, and sometimes you're drained and you need to do something more positive or something different. And I'm always finding this balance between these different formats. I'm trying to, as an independent worker in Belgium.
I don't know if you'll have an equivalent to this experience, but when I explain how I became sort of a long-term expatriate, I usually tell people how a student, I went trick-or-treating. I knocked on a student's door where my family was, and this person, he said, "I don't have any candy, but here, have some Danish money." And I was, I was 3 or 4 years old, right? So I had no idea what the heck Danish money was, but I think it definitely somehow sparked some kind of curiosity about Europe or, countries around the world. Were there any things that you watched or any, experiences that you had as a child, you think, that were sort of seminal experiences for you becoming a filmmaker?
Oh, becoming a filmmaker. I was always interested in other people's stories and observing other people, not in a creepy way, but just listening to their stories. And I don't know, it was always interesting for me. First, it was through photography, and later on, it was through journalism, and later on, through documentary films. And then I realized there are so many different stories, so many different people, different cultures, and I wanted to give them a voice in a way through my lens, because it's always different. Even if you're a journalist, where the format is more objective, you are a journalist of that report or that video, and of course that the report is told through your lens, through your style, and the questions that you are asking, and not
Right.
any other journalist. So yes, I was always interested. My mother always told me that I was always like a little observer of things. I'm quite detail oriented, and when I even enter in other people's houses or room or some kind of shooting or projects, I can read the room in a sense that I can really quickly discover or other people's personalities, and then they can trust me easily. I think that's one of my biggest advantages, let's say, as a filmmaker and
Mhm.
as a journalist as well. That people open up to me easily. Not well, maybe it's approach, maybe it's the communication part. I don't know, but I'm really happy that I have this positive side that is helping me to develop my documentaries. And
Mhm. Mhm. What about so you were very young at the breakup of Yugoslavia.
yes,
Has that influenced anything about the kinds of stuff that you do?
but of course, I think that I have to say I'm coming from Eastern Europe. Some people say that it's Central Eastern Europe, but I was influenced by the war in Croatia. Of course, I was like 6 or 7 years old when the war started, and fortunately, my region was not so influenced by the war as the other regions in Croatia. But it leaves a mark because it's always on TV. It's always, I don't know, in the media. Parents from my best friends were, I don't know, killed in the war. It leaves a mark on you. And even now, 30 years after the war, there is still a tension going on. And I think, in a way, we were raised definitely different than the people from Western Europe. Not that I'm comparing, but we have this experience that wasn't really nice, and then it changed us in a way, our personalities. Poorer people, richer people, middle class, it doesn't matter. Like the war that is happening now in Ukraine, it will leave a mark. And war in Croatia was like lasted for 4 or 5 years. So yeah, I was never concentrated on war stories, but I was concentrated always on marginalized people. I did lots of documentaries about older people. Now this genital mutilation that I'm doing, it's not finished. It's in the research phase, and then migrants, that is almost finished in Nepal, and then I did lots of reports in Brussels about other cultures and tried to give voice to different nationalities, different cultures. So I was always interested in giving voice through media to people that are not often heard, let's
Mhm.
say. And
Right.
yeah, maybe war left a mark on me, not maybe, for sure. Not only on me, but also on my family, my friends, my relatives. And we didn't have an easy childhood, I would say, because it marks you in a sense, because normal kids like 5, 6 years old, they're playing outside, or I don't know, doing funny things. And we went to basements for a couple of years. So yeah, definitely influenced I think it has a really big influence on me, on my character, on my personality, and on the way I see the world today.
Sure. I can imagine. This is just a reminder that you're watching Making Waves. My name is Drew Leifheit, and we're talking today to Brussels-based filmmaker ANJA STRELEC. Feel free to send in your comments and questions in the chat, and you can also let me know in the chat if you'd like to join the video feed, if you'd like to ask ANJA a question in the video feed. That's fun. Anyway, getting back to yeah, what you do, ANJA, is could you talk about what it's like for you working in different media? So you sometimes do photography stills, you do video, combinations of these things. What are the pluses and minuses of different media?
Different formats, different media. I don't know, it comes really natural to me because I mentioned I started with photography, then I went to TV journalism, then I went to documentary filmmaking, and then I think that 10 years ago or something like that, I really wanted to experience how it's going to be to do, I don't know, commercial stuff or music videos. And I think that when I get tired from one format, I tend to search for clients like, for example, if I finish a documentary and it has been really hard on me because it lasted for 2 years or something, I want to do something positive. And then I do a couple of positive reports for TV or a music video, or when I see that 2 or 3 years have passed from my last exhibition, photo exhibition, or any kind of work related to photos, then I switch to photos again. So it's like, let's say, not natural procedure that is happening in my brain, in my mind. So when I see that I have too much of one format, I'm switching to another one. But it's also related to topic, because documentaries really drain you in a way. They take away a lot of your energy, because one documentary, it can last from ideas to realization. It can be 2, 3, 4 years of work. And then I really want to do something shorter. Let's say, I don't know, a 3-minute video, 4-minute report, or institutional video, or something like that. But I also like, really like a lot, giving classes to students. So sometimes I'm combining it with that, because, you know, it can be sometimes a little bit lonely, this profession of mine, because I'm a one woman band in a way, because I do most of the shootings myself. Sometimes I have a sound recordist with me. Most of the time I am working by myself or in a team of 2 or 3 people. That's not a lot. And yes, giving classes to me is some kind of possibility. It gives me possibility to be with other people, groups, 10 people, 15 people, and just pass my knowledge to other generations, and to hear their stories, to hear their projects, what they are working on, and etc. So yeah, it's a natural process. I'm switching when I feel the need to switch. Either clients contact me, either I contact clients, and I try to then concentrate on the format that I want to work. And until now, I was quite fortunate. Of course, there are some periods that are up and down, and etc. But it's like in every other profession and in life. So I'm embracing that as well. I see sometimes that I need a pause.
Well, how fortunate it is to have sort of different formats that you can work in now. It really makes sense if you think about it. So yeah, if you get bogged down working on a long documentary, then how great is it, whatever, if let's say you're doing a video clip of a music video, maybe that much less complex in terms of scripting, I would imagine, right?
And yes and no, in fact, because documentaries are, you can predict around, I don't know, 60 or 70%, depending on what kind of documentary you do. You can predict 60 or 70% of the situation, and but 30% or 40, sometimes even more, is improvisation. And in music videos, it's often quite scripted. It's like one shot by shot. It's quite scripted. I always know what to film and what not to film. And sometimes with documentaries, you have to just go with the flow and then follow someone, or someone gives you a lead, and then you go to that place, and to the second place and the third one, and then you do an interview with the people that you haven't even imagined from the start. So sometimes it's quite hectic in the sense that you don't know what will happen always, depending on the documentary. And but music videos, commercial videos, institutional videos are quite scripted, I would say. So you really have to know what your client wants at the end of the day, and what are their wishes, and I'm just delivering that in my own style. While documentaries is something that is 100% or 90% mostly your own, and quite subjective, I would say.
Right. Now, you said you're a one-man band. What about that? Does that mean that you do all of your own editing as well?
So depending on the format, again, of course, when I do documentaries, we have a team of, we have producers, we have assistant of production, we have people who are doing public relations, sometimes translators, sometimes people who are doing color grading, sound mix. But in my previous documentaries, normally I was always either alone, either with other co-director or sound recordist. And it was really a small team. And when I'm doing TV reports mostly, and institutional videos, even music videos here in Brussels, depending who is the client, I'm mostly doing, I'm a camera operator and editor. So I was from early start, when I started with my TV studies, I started working with camera, even with photo camera as a child. And then last, I would say 15 years, I'm editing. So we learned how to edit first when I was studying journalism, and then when I was studying film. Even in France, when we were studying film, it was written in one document: if you don't know how to edit, it is to be translated in a foreign language if you have a poem by someone else. So they were really encouraging us to know how to edit and how to deliver something of, but I would definitely advise, if you can and if the budget allows, to work with one other editor if you're doing documentaries, because you always have a fresh point of view on one topic when you're too much inside.
That's a great tip. Yeah. It kind of reminds me, as a radio producer, it also reminds me of sort of the difference between how I can edit as a radio producer, which is not bad. But then, if you pair me or match me up against a real sound engineer, that's like another universe. So I don't know if it's a similar thing. Like if somebody is a full-time editor, I'm sure you can probably edit very well, but then there are people who
depends. It depends really what you do. I edited more than I edited 4 films, 250 reports. I'm in a way I am a full-time editor as well. But I know what you mean. Sometimes because editing is a creative process and a technical process as well. So a good editor has to be a combination of both. And finding a good editor is finding a good partner or a good doctor or anyone else. So when you find a good editor, you stick with her or him, because it can really put your film or a project on another level. But every editor has their own style, and that's so important that that he or she understands you, what you want to say or talk about, or where do you want that story to go, and etc. So I like always, I like working with other editors when I do documentaries, especially if I click really well with them. Then I'm really enjoying the process, not to be alone. But the first version or second version of film, I like to edit myself. But I'm also learning a lot from my colleagues always. I'm watching lots of fiction and documentaries and TV reports in my free time, and I'm always trying to pick up some of the good stuff that I find, I don't know, either camera work or storytelling or editing. So it's a lifetime learning process and journey.
Of course.
So
Of course. Now, Anya, we have been talking so much about the past, but I think we should, if you could give us a few words about your two projects that do I understand correctly that they will both be finished very soon? Could you tell us a little bit about those?
just a little correction. So the first one will be finished in 2 weeks. Nepali film. Where have all the smiles gone? It's now it's only sound and color grading are missing. So in 2 weeks, more or less, it will be finished. And the other one about genital mutilation, it's in the research phase, in fact. So in every documentary, you have this long research phase where you get acquainted with the topic and the protagonists and the story. So that is really in the first stage, let's say. But I already am starting to construct something in my head. But Where Have All the Smiles Gone is my, I think, fourth or fifth documentary. And then it is 30-minute documentary about Nepali migrant workers who go to Middle East countries, to Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia. And then they are, most of the times, because of the bad working conditions, they are returning either dead or sick. And women are violated and raped, and there is legal and illegal migration. So lots of things that we try to cover in the short documentary. The shooting was a couple of years ago before COVID. And then during COVID, we did a little pause because of the fundings. And now I think I started to edit it with one editor. It was 1.5 years ago when the editing process started, and now it's finally finished. And I'm really looking forward to send it to film festivals and offer it to televisions later on, and to show it to different NGOs and institutions, and to start raising questions and maybe organizing panels. And so for me, in this case, it's not just for me to film, to be shown to wider public, but also to decision makers in a way, because it has so many interesting topics that we covered that really need to be addressed. And yeah, that's more or less Where Have All the Smiles Gone. And the film about genital mutilation, it's in a research phase. A couple of years ago, I didn't know anything about genital mutilation a few years back. I knew something, when this supermodel started talking about genital mutilation. I think it was 7-8 years ago. I don't know her name, but she mentioned something. It was all around internet, and then I started to be interested in the topic. And then through journalism work that I'm doing, I got to know one NGO here in Brussels called GAMS, where they are fighting against genital mutilation. And I got to know the president, called Kadia, who was a director of the NGO, and she was born in Senegal. She was victim of a child she was like a victim, of a child marriage and genital mutilation. She went from Senegal to Brussels, and after a couple of years living in Brussels, when she learned how to read and write, she organized this NGO. She started this NGO, and today they saved around 3,500 girls from genital mutilation, because the practice is not just happening in outside of Europe. It's also happening in Europe, because the families who migrate to Europe, and a few years back, there wasn't a law against it. So first, my idea was to cover her story and to do a film about Kadia, and then her husband died, and we had to do a pause. And now we are revising rethinking about the documentary, who the protagonists are going to be, and maybe we are going to include more people in it, not just Kadia. Yeah. So to hear stories from younger generations who just arrived to Brussels or to France, and all these questions, the life that they are leading, and all these stories that normal people who live in Europe are never questioning or imagining, that are happening outside. And the topic is not covered a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a really fills me with despair to think that these things are happening, right? So we think that things are so civilized and we are in the developed world, and a lot of things I think in this day and age seem to slip through the cracks, and so it's really great that you're putting the spotlight on that. Just getting back to your film that's almost done, if it's okay, I would like to play your trailer, which is about 2 minutes. We will take ourselves off of screen and turn immediately.
काम गरौँ नेपालमा भने जस्तो काम छैन र आखिरमा एउटा मिठो सपना बोकेर कमाउँछु घरमा गर्छु सबैलाई खुसी दिन्छु भनेर धेरै नेपाली दाजुभाइहरू दिदीबहिनीहरू विदेश पलायन हुनु परिरहेछ।
मेन पावरमा जाँदाखेरि त डर लाग्छ नि के अब मेन पावर कस्तो छ के छ त्यहाँ जाँदाखेरि कस्तो काममा फसाइदिन्छ के त्यो अलिकति डर हुन्छ के।
त्यहाँनेरि 10 बाई 15 भएको रुममा म छिरेँ। मान्छे तल एकजना माथि एकजना गर्दाखेरि 10 वटा बेडमा 20 जना सुतेको।
When we send the housemate, they thinking I buy. She has to work is 12 hours, 13 hours, 15 hours.
पछि मेरो मालिकले पनि पिट्ने मालिकले पनि पिट्ने जतिखेर पनि पिटी गरिराख्ने मोबाइलको त्यो वायरले पिट्ने कहिले डन्डाले कहिले मुकुन्दले कहिले के चक्कुले हान्ने कहिले अलगिले हान्ने गर्थे।
जुन उज्यालो भविष्यतर्फ जानुपर्ने त्यो उज्यालो झन् अन्धकार भइदियो हाम्रो लागि।
Now I hope we're back, because that's the first time I've done that. And I'm sorry I'm smiling because yeah, obviously you're putting the spotlight on where have their smiles gone, and how did you happen upon this subject?
So it's a really interesting that you asked me that, and it's quite important question because previous documentaries that I have done, they're 100% my documentaries in the sense that it was my idea and okay, my directing and everything, but it was more topics that were filmed in Croatia. And afterwards, when I came to Brussels, I joined, I think 8 years ago or something like that, I joined LinkedIn. And I was contacted through LinkedIn by a producer from India and Nepal who have seen some of my TV work and documentaries, if I'm available to direct a documentary on this topic. So we were in touch. Also, there was a research phase where they gave me lots of documents, different books, articles that I had to read before going to Nepal and directing the documentary. Normally, lots of Asian countries, depending where they are lacking directors. Let's say they're mostly bringing directors from Europe if they want to do documentaries that are more, let's say, international, or if they want to do a topic that is going to have more international distribution. So I was really, really happy that I was contacted for this project, and also by through LinkedIn. I have to say, just a little digression, that I was contacted through LinkedIn for several projects from BBC Studios, European Commission, etc. So it's a great platform to to be on. Yeah. And yeah, nothing. I went to Nepal. I was there for a little bit more than a month. It was maybe 5 weeks, every day shooting. We were a team of several people there. I did a camera, so I was a camera operator and director. And of course, together with the producer, we have written the questions that we want to ask to different people, different migrants, different people who are working in institutions, International Organization for Migration, head of European Commission, directors of the recruitment agencies in Nepal, and lots of migrants that accepted to be filmed that were about to leave from Nepal, and that we interviewed also the people who came back. So everything was filmed in Nepal with a lot of lots of interviews, lots of research, and lots of shootings. It was from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. Shootings, quite intense, covering different regions even in Nepal. So quite exhausting in a way, but also quite rewarding, I would say. And yeah, after these 5 weeks, it was hard to translate all the material, because I had to also do one version of editing. But then the other editor from Nepal jumped in, who did a shorter version of something like 3 hours. That was translated. All the 3 hours were translated, and then we had like 20 hours of material. So, or even more. So when I got these 3 hours of material, of interviews that were translated, that was 1.5 years ago, I was able to do the second edit myself, after the first edit was done by Nepali editor. Yeah. And yeah, today we are in. There was an Italian co-producer, Giuseppe Savino, Indian producer Chandrakant Jha, and then a producer from Iceland that came in a little bit later. And yeah, lots of institutions and lots of recruitment agencies that we filmed. And I discovered during editing process that the best format would be 30 minutes for festivals, but also to show to different NGOs and institutions later on, and hopefully to televisions once the festival life is finished.
Right. So correct me if I've misunderstood, but so basically, sounds like people are quite desperate and are for work, and they would get themselves into these situations, almost slave-like conditions in some cases, right?
Yes. So I didn't know anything about the topic before. I knew that there are lots of migrants from Asian countries going abroad, but when you see what's happening in Nepal or even Bangladesh, where I was now in January, a couple of weeks ago, there are so many migrants that are going away. Numbers are huge. So there are statistics that in every family there is one person going away for work. So there's not enough work in Nepal. They have to migrate to different countries. They have to migrate, and they are mostly migrating. They're mostly going in Middle East countries. Some of them are going, like I said, legally, or some of them are going not legally, and then where the biggest problems start. But where have all the smiles gone is it's not only the film that they're being exploited by countries where they go. They're also exploited by their own government and recruitment agencies and destination countries. So it's like a circle, like this horrible circle they are in, and they cannot escape from. And yes, you know what happened in Qatar. I think that when we look at the numbers, around 1,600 people only from Nepal died while working on stadiums for the World Cup. And we are not talking here about other nationalities like India and Bangladesh. And I don't even know what the real numbers are, because, yeah, the working conditions are quite bad. These people are living in rooms of, I don't know, 20 people, 10 square meters, and then they, the weather is like 30 or 40 degrees. Sometimes they don't have enough water. Sometimes they don't have enough food. And that leads to them being sick. When you're at the airport in Kathmandu, where I was filming, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, you see all these coffins coming every day. That's why we started the trailer with the phrase, when you're at the airport, you see all these travelers from States and Europe coming to find peace or to travel or to hike on Mount Everest. And then at the same time, you see coffins coming of the people who died, of Nepali people who died abroad. And then you see all this interaction and life happening in this small place, in this small airport, and their families are waiting and looking through this glass window if their father or mother or sister died or not, or it was saved. So today, I know that even there are lots of Nepali migrants in Croatia, for example, in the last 4 or 5 years. Of course, the conditions are not the same. I think that they are treated a bit better in Croatia than in different countries of Middle East. But even so, there have been some, not rumors, but newspaper articles that their wages are super low, and they're also living like 5 or 6 of them in one room. But I cannot confirm that. So I think that their conditions are better, of course. And yeah, and then women were the testimonies that we took from women. It was from one shelter that we found, like, I don't know, there were like 30 or 40 women in that shelter who came back from these destination countries where they went to work, and then they returned sick or raped by their employers. And their husbands didn't want them back when they were raped in Nepal, or some of them got pregnant and then they were just stuck in these shelter houses. Some of them were also embarrassed to return to their families after being molested. Because also, it's not only fault of, I cannot say like that, but it's not only fault of Middle East countries, but also, for example, they are going there to cook or to take care of the children and things like that, and they're not acquainted with, I don't know, cooking or all this equipment in the kitchen, and then their employers get angry and then they beat them. It's a crazy circle that you cannot even imagine that is happening. So yeah, it is a story that I'm working on now, a couple of years for something like that. And even though it's a short documentary, I think it's quite delivering a topic in a quite clear way, and I hope it will bring some changes in the future.
So yes, what would be the keys to alleviating the situation It sounds like that authorities have just really dropped the ball on this.
Yeah, recruitment agency, because like economy from Nepal, like there are lots of migrants going away, and their economy is prospering from the migrants, in fact, because the recruitment agency, they take sometimes 30 or 40% when they send them or when they find their jobs. But I think that institutions, especially institution like IOM, that's International Organization for Migration, or UN or EU, they can do certain changes in that countries. So and some laws need to be changed in Nepal as well. And the embassies should probably react a little bit quicker in foreign countries, and etc. So, but also to educate that the people, where are they going? Because my film is also starting with all these happy faces. They are so happy that they are going away. They are thinking about their future. They're thinking about prosperity, how they're going to help their families, and happy about leaving to have a better life. And then the reality is often different.
You know, getting back to the research of your female genital mutilation piece, could you talk about maybe, you know, what you found out that, you know, why this is happening?
So why this is happening? So all the conversation that I had with the victims, and because I did several also videos for the NGO, that was not documentary, but videos that we did together, because they liked my work, etc. So, and all the books that I read, it comes from ancient Egypt, you know, where they've cut the clitoris from, you know, women it was thousands and thousands of years ago. And it's not, some people think it's related to Islam, but it's not at all. I was told that it's not at all a religious thing. It's only like tradition that was kept to so women can stay faithful to their potential new like husbands, so they wouldn't cheat, etc. Because you have 3 kinds of genital mutilation. I'm not going to get into details, but like the third one, it's really the worst, in the sense that they cut the clitoris, and then they cut the labia, and then they're sewing the labia, and you have this small hole where you have to pee through and have your period, and you cannot have intercourse when you have a kid or a child. It's especially painful, and sometimes they are doing this when the kid is like 6 months old, and sometimes when it's 5 years or 6 years old. So it's a really, really painful procedure, and it really influences your life in a way that you don't have any not that you don't have any satisfaction in your everyday life, like sexual life, but not in everyday life, because when you have to go to the toilet, or you know, it's super painful and it's traumatic. And some of the victims wanted to commit suicide, and some of them did commit suicide because of the trauma that it caused. And education is the key here. And I think that also this NGO is trying to educate as much as people as possible, to tell them that, you know, independence of women, that the situation has changed, that the world has developed, that traditions have changed, etc. So it's because it's happening in not only in Africa, in South America, in Asian countries as well, but still mostly in African countries.
Yeah, it's just it's terrible just to hear that such things would happen in the 21st century, right? So in theory, we're supposed to be moving forward, right? But well, it's good that you're shedding some light on that. And this is just a reminder that yeah, today we are talking to documentary filmmaker ANJA STRELEC. She lives in Brussels. She's involved in all kinds of interesting projects, from reporting to full-blown documentaries, corporate productions, etc. I was hoping we'd get some comments out there. We have a few viewers, I see, but if there's anything that you'd like to ask Anja or even me, or make a comment, we'd love to see your comment in the chat. And until that time, we'll just keep talking for a little bit. Anja, I'm wondering, so all in all, when you choose such topics, how do you feel about the kind of effect that you can have on, maybe changing things?
Oof, I'm never. I think that I'm never starting a documentary thinking about, oh, how can I change this? Is it going to change or not? I'm thinking about sometimes only conversation. I'm not a therapist, of course. I'm only a audiovisual director and a filmmaker. But sometimes for the victims or genital mutilation or migrants or other people, this experience that they go through when I film them, it's in a way like catharsis, because they're trying to heal their trauma, and they're trying to tell their story, and in a way they are, when I read people going to therapy or something, when they tell about their trauma, they feel better. In a sense, for them, I think it's also that. That's a first step. And then the second step, they want to help by telling their stories other victims, and so that the story wouldn't repeat again. And then I'm only trying with my own experience. I wouldn't say talent, because I think it's a little bit pretentious, but with my own experience that I have in the last, 15 years, trying to deliver story in the best visual way, and using the best storytelling that I can to deliver that story. And then, of course, like when the documentary is finished or before it's finished, I'm starting to think, oh, how can I change this? Where can we show it? What discussions can we have? And mostly educate people that are not educated. But I'm not always doing these hard topics. My previous documentaries were quite funny. I'm also trying to have different points of view and perspectives, and not only work with difficult topics. But at this moment, this is a topic that I want to finish. And so every stage is different. Of every phase of making documentary is different, and different ideas that come to my mind, and different things.
Was there a moment for you that you realized that producing such things was your calling? Did you have a breakthrough moment?
I don't know. I was like, when I probably did. I don't remember really. I just remember then when I did my first documentary that I felt really happy. And I'm always like trying to follow my intuition, and even, I don't know, write a little journal or something when I'm feeling happy or not, and what can I change. It's like a little archive of thoughts that I'm having. And I'm feeling the happiest when I collaborate with people, when I film them, when I listen to them, when I take their photo, when even when I'm doing TV reports. But I have to be careful to how to explain, to stay in the balance, because it can be really draining if you listen and listen and listen. As I mentioned, I'm not an educated therapist, so and sometimes the line is quite thin when you are dealing with all this and negative and even positive stories, because you're always delivering other people's stories, and then you a little bit forget about yourself, and then you need a pause to recharge. And that's quite important, that I want to share with all other videographers, filmmakers, storytellers around the world, that to find a good balance, not to be exhausted. But yes, I think that first time that I had a breakthrough was when I got my first camera. The second was probably when I did the first documentary, and I was like, okay, this is something that I really like. I knew from the early start that I'm not kind of a person that would be really good at from 9 to 5 job or 9 to 6 here in Brussels, although I'm working from 9 to 6 or 9 to 7. But
Right.
I am quite, I like being outside a lot. And I cannot be in front of the computer a long time. And I really like to be outside in the field and exploring and filming and just like being in a rush or something similar. So it's important to discover yourself and what you like, what you don't. And but if something happens, so like in 10 years, I'm open to be also to work in a restaurant. You know, it's not like it is my calling, but it can change if I feel too exhausted in certain point.
Sure. I'm wondering how you see the whole, content-driven world that we live in. Everybody's, always taking videos and photographs and putting posts on social media. And how would you contrast that with what you do?
But there are certain people that are saying you can never have the same quality, and I don't know. But I'm really happy. But the world is changing, and the world changed already 10 years ago or 15 with internet, and today even the most successful journalists are working with their mobile phones and filming. And then I think that it's really important to educate people how to take a good video or how to take a good photo. And there are really some good content online and some bad content online. So it's up to you to pick which one you want to see and which one you want to follow. I don't like when directors or someone else, they think that they're better than someone who is just starting or something else. Maybe they have more experience. But we are all trying and doing our best. And if there is a bad content outside, don't watch it. Just simple as that. And then, because people, I think today are spreading too much hate in general. And so yeah, I think that the biggest problem is today with maybe kids or that are following some accounts that are more maybe too superficial or delivering a wrong message. But that's already another topic and another question, and that we can talk about in another podcast or with another guest.
Sure. Well, I want to commend you though, because if you think about, in a way, it's almost like documentary film is also almost becoming almost archaic if you think about the attention spans that people have, right, compared to a TikTok video or something.
You asked me that. Okay, yeah, but it changed for all of us,
Right.
I'm looking at, I don't know, my sister is 26, my brother is 30. When I they already have completely different attention span. But then my brother who is 30 is playing video games that can last for hours. So there is a different attention span there. But yeah, TikTok videos that are shorter, everything is shorter, everything needs to be 1 minute or 2 minutes. But then you go to cinema or you watch Netflix or Amazon or HBO or other platforms where you have a movie of 2.5 hours. If you want to watch it, you will watch it.
Right.
Yeah, so my goal is not to only go to festival with my films, just to distribute it everywhere possible, to be available for everyone. If someone wants to watch it 5 minutes, they will watch it for 5 minutes. And then if someone wants to watch it till the end, they will watch it till the end. Although I think that the world also, it's changing a little bit in a sense, this slow work that was mentioned a couple of months ago that I've seen, that lots of people had burnouts after COVID, during COVID, and then lots of people are returning, I don't know, to nature, meditations, whatever, reading books. They are missing. I think that lots of us are missing this slower rhythm, slower life.
Sure.
It's going to change again, I think.
Yeah. So things do come full circle. Hey, I just want to give a brief. We've received a couple of comments. This is a longer comment, so maybe we'll just skim through it quickly. But it says it was very touching you were sharing with us. So that's for you, I believe, Anja. And it says, maybe I know something about the Somalian girl who ran from being married to an old man and became an immigrant in Hungary, but later she proved to be so specially blessed with positive energy and willingness to grow over the traumas that she became a famous top model. Her name is Kaveh. I'm not aware of that, but things, all kinds of things, especially with the huge topic of migration into Europe. There are a number of things that we are confronted with. Life does become complicated. I think it's natural. My personal view is I think it's natural, or it's totally understandable why a lot of people would come to Europe for to get jobs and some of them escaping climate change, things like this. So it's a very complicated world. Anyway, just getting back to we're about to wrap up, Anja. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but
It's really been a pleasure to talk with you, and
great having you. Thanks so much for being here. And I was just going to ask you, in terms of it could be documentary or whatever you like. Is there anything that you've just watched recently that you just think is absolutely fantastic and that you might recommend to viewers out there?
Documentary film, you mean?
Could be anything. Could be,
Yeah,
could be.
I watched a lot of films now when I was in Bangladesh, but that's still in the TV. It's still in the festival distribution, so I cannot mention that. But I think that one of the latest that I've seen also, it was I think it was One Child Nation, or something like that, which is I think on Amazon Prime, a documentary. You know that the China had this rule of one child during lots of years, and then there is one lady who is talking about her experience. She's from China, living in the States now, and talking about the situation that was happening in China during that period, and how lots of kids were, I don't know, thrown in garbages and etc. And she's talking from her own experience with her family and other relatives. So yeah, I think it's called One Child Nation, Amazon. And then lots of festivals there was one documentary that was really interesting for me. It's called Miguel's War. It's from director from Lebanon, about one gay person from Lebanon going to Spain, and he was also in the war in Lebanon, and all these feelings and traumas that he experienced as a gay person in Lebanon, going to Spain, and then also during the war. So there are two documentaries that I've seen recently that I can recommend. But I also invite everyone to go to festivals to check the documentaries online. There are so many good platforms today, and
that's interesting. What would be an absolute festival that you might show up at?
Oh, I don't have an absolute festival.
No?
I'm always depending where they invite me. So depending where they invite me, I go. And of course, I go to some Belgian festivals. There is a Millennium Film Festival in Brussels that is covering documentary films around Europe. And so I'm often going to that festival, and Mediterranean Film Festival that is also in Brussels. So when I have time, I go to festivals. If I don't, then I check documentaries online through different platforms, because lots of, let's say, alternative documentaries or author documentaries are today online. So you can sometimes they are for free, sometimes you have to buy them for €2 or $3, depending.
It's in that sense, it is amazing now that we can access these things that many times we'd have to wait for in an art house cinema years ago.
Yeah, so that's great. That's a really great thing. And for me personally, I also loved the COVID period because I could watch all the films. Of course, it was not good for directors, and it's a good thing that didn't happen to me now. But I loved the period when I could watch from Sarajevo Film Festival or Zagreb Film Festival, or even I think it's several big festivals had their films online, and it was really a pleasure to, really nice to watch them. But I have to be honest, I also watching everything. I watch stupid films as well. I cannot lie, you know, because sometimes I just need a break, and after a long working day, I just need some kind of comedy and things like that to forget about everything.
Okay, pretty much almost last question. Is there anyone, say in your field, or it could be anyone, could be a writer or absolutely anyone that inspires you in particular today?
But there's I'm really, everyone can inspire me. You know, I'm giving now documentary film classes to one student, and she's inspiring, you know, so it doesn't matter if it's someone like super well known, or it can be often it's a student, because you can learn so much from younger generations and younger people. And then there are so many good documentary filmmakers and fiction film and female directors, especially recently, that are giving a break. So yeah, I don't have any special names. I'm just trying to stay open more for female directors, because all my life I have watched documentaries or fiction directed by men. I'm not like choosing female over man directors, but maybe a little bit, just have balance as well, and different points of view.
Excellent. Now, I know obviously you're going to be working on Kadia going forward, but what's next for you? Anything else coming down?
Definitely distribution of this film. It's going to be a lot of work. Where have all the smiles gone? Because now the film is like, when it's born, it will go out to the world, and I have to make sure that it travels, that I represent it. It's like public relations of the film. And then I continue with my normal everyday work. You know, I work for TV. I would really like to give even more classes in documentary filmmaking. I already am, but I would like to continue in that direction even more. And yeah, a film about genital mutilation is definitely something that I need to develop. And yeah, for me in the future, I would like to visit as much as festivals this year and next one, because we were closed for 2 or 3 years, and I'm really looking forward to socialize again.
Totally. We all need face-to-face communication so we can share our ideas, and yeah, I think that's how excellent ideas emerge, regardless of what we're creating. So, Anja, thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me. It was really a nice pleasure.
Our time on Making Waves has come to an end. Thanks to everyone out there for tuning in. Thanks for the couple of questions and the feedback. ANJA STRELEC is just one of the spectacular individuals doing amazing things in this difficult world. I'll continue interviewing them. So stay tuned. We're coming back soon. We've got a couple of very interesting interviews coming up in the next couple of weeks. I'm Drew Leifheit, and everybody, we're very. We also I'll just show you this comment just as a fade out. Steve Nelson writes, "Nice discussion. Thanks for joining, Anja." Thanks, Steve. Appreciate your input. Once again, thank you very much, Anja. Lovely to meet you, and looking forward to having coffee with you in Brussels.
Yes,
sometime.
yes, and good luck with all of your projects, and especially Making Waves. It's something that we all need.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks for the feedback. Peace to you, my friend. Take care.
Peace. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.